Hello everyone. Is this okay? Everyone hear me? Okay, fantastic. Okay, this is all set. Great. Hi everyone. I'm here going to talk a bit about what's been happening at Maker the last few times. I hope that after this, you get a better understanding of what's happening on the organizational side, also the technology side, that you know what Spark Protocol is, that you know what Conduits are, and hopefully that you believe me that predictable rates are the old new thing. Just to preface this, my name is Tadeo. I've been with Maker for about 2 years now. I started as a community member, went through different phases, and now I'm a developer relations at Spark Protocol. Sorry, at Phoenix Labs, which is our team company helping build Spark Protocol. So, small DAO disclaimer. These are really my own opinions. If something's wrong, it's on me. But I'd love to hear everyone's feedback on this and what your point of view of this is. So, what is Endgame? So, really, Endgame is the next step in Maker, and not just Maker the protocol, but also MakerDAO the organization. We've had these changes happening already throughout the lifetime of the project. We went from a foundation to a decentralized organization with core units. We also had, we started with single collateralized DAI, stablecoin only collateralized by Ether, and then turned into DAI, which is multi-collateralized and based. So Endgame represents a change on both sides. So I don't want to talk too much about the reasons why we thought this change was necessary. There's already enough talks about that. But really, the big thing that I want you to take away from this is, while scaling a decentralized organization and also decentralized protocol, you end up running into scaling issues that really don't allow you to move anywhere else apart from redoing what you already know. So, also, big thing here is more on the personal side is even on contributors doing full time, it was impossible for someone to actually fully commit and be effective within this organization without being essentially faker, changing scripts every half a second. So where do we really want to go? And it's really the beautiful idea that we all have in our heads, where we really want to have a completely unbiased and fully open financial system for everyone. It's easy to say, but really, what is the way that we can get there? And while Endgame represents a lot of changes in a lot of different areas of the organization, really what I really want to concern about here is about the capital allocation of it, the liquidity provision that the Maker provides to the market, and what we're really known for, which is a stablecoin DAI. So, for me, Endgame is really a separation of concerns. No single person, no single entity can carry all functions all together. So in our case, and when looking at the capital allocation, what we're doing is separating what we consider systemic risk management, and that's taken over by Maker Core. It's the same ways that we've been working until now, prioritizing security over everything else. And then we have new entities called SubDAOs. SubDAOs, as the name you can figure out, is really a smaller community from the Maker that is really focused on allocating the capital given by Maker. And although this looks a little bit too much, it really is very simple. SubDAOs get a credit line from Maker or credit capacity, and their sole intention is to allocate this in the highly yielding opportunities. They get a profit. They pay Maker a cost of capital for that, and then whatever they get after that, it's their own. They also have skin in the game. They have equity, junior capital, that takes first losses on the event of any bad debt occurring in the system, meaning that they're also highly incentivized to make very risk-averse or risk-adjusted decisions, because ultimately they are fully accountable for those decisions themselves. So, as you can see, you have SubDAOs on a single row. These are essentially competitors to each other. While within the same ecosystem, they all have the opportunity to be the most effective capital allocator. And if they are the most effective one, that's where capital from Maker will also flow towards too. So what you end up having is a decision point for these entities. And it's really about where to actually allocate this capital. So if you see on the reddish areas, you have possibilities such as providing DAI liquidity to in Uniswap, go into real asset deals, or the thing I want to showcase right now, go into Sparkland. So there we go. What is Sparkland? Sparkland is a lending platform specifically focused on DAI. We want to bring the most advanced and innovative features to DAI holders to the market. And what I think is the real value proposition for us to the market is predictable rates. Predictable rates are nothing new, but I think it's something that we don't really discuss around. We have variable rates that are all throughout DeFi, fixed rates that are coming up now. But in reality, predictable rates provide a great user experience to both sides of the market. These are rates defined by governance. This is the same way that MakerVaults used to work before. You know well in advance when that change will happen and also what rate will actually be after that change. So as you can imagine, this creates a completely different experience from what you have against completely variable rate programs. And the key here really is this predictability. Although there's a change, you know what change there is and you know the outcome of that change. So now, this is going to get a little bit turbulent. Just going back to my previous point, how are SubDAOs funding or doing liquidity provisioning to Sparkland, real assets, or any other protocol in DeFi? And this is through the allocation vault system. I'm going to overly simplify this diagram apart. This requires a lot more time than I'm going to give it. But essentially, what I want you to see is that we are having the VAT on the left-hand side. That is the core accounting system that Maker carries. That is really the actual what Maker really is nowadays. And then we're creating a new way of interfacing with the external protocols or the DeFi ecosystem at large. And here, the key is that we have those things on the orange on the right-hand side called conduits. These are, I like to think about them as adapters, standardized interfaces to be able to funnel flows within DeFi. The same way I think that hooks are representing a new paradigm for Uniswap, conduits are that for Maker. You get to have a standardized approach, and within that standardized guideline or framework, you're able to innovate and customize to your specific needs or skills. So this is actually the standard interface for conduits. As you can see, it's quite simple. It really is the deposit and withdrawal, and really doesn't carry that much more complexity. There is roles and other stuff that gets inherited that I'm not going to talk about, but I want to show you that this is what SubDAO will use to connect to Spark. It really will just be depositing and withdrawing from the liquidity pools. Now, if you think about the real asset arranger that we have, for example, such as Monetalis, Block Tower, what we have there is off-chain and on-chain clashing together. So for that, the interface gets a little bit more complex, but essentially, the important thing here, and I think the most important function here is the request of funds. You're essentially signaling from a SubDAO perspective saying, hey, I would like to call back my capital that I previously deployed. The arranger on the real asset side receives that message and is able to divest or do what they think is best to actually then be able to repay and do the commitment back to the SubDAO. So going back a little bit back to this, all this, apart from the green area and probably the swapper, is open for innovation. This is where we are hoping that we turn a page on Maker and we really open our innovation to the entire community because everyone can really come in and build conduits to a high degree of freedom. For me, the same way that SubDAOs are part of the Maker ecosystem, arrangers are part of the ecosystem as well as service providers. In reality, for me, conduits builders are part of this ecosystem. They're an integral part of it, actually. So trying to bring this to the point is from a perspective of predictable rates, you can interact with them, with Maker, in a variety of ways, depending on who you are. Borrowers, I encourage you to try Spark Protocol. You'll get a fantastic user experience. If you're a depositor, try SDAI. This is the DSR, the DAI savings rate module, where if you deposit DAI, you get a yield of right now 3.5%. And you have SDAI, which is the legal representation of it. And then you're a developer or a protocol, I encourage you to come talk to me and build Conduits, because that is the way that you will be able to interface with Maker and really bring the connection between high quality DeFi products with very stable liquidity. And I think I sped run through that, but thank you for taking the time. And if you want to check out anything, know that we're doing Conduits on the ETH Global Hackathon, so happy to take calls. Thank you. There are microphones on either side, so if anyone has a question, please holler at them. Yep.
Yes. If you want to ask a question, just raise the hand. We will give you a microphone.
Hey, Tadeo. I'm Katie. I used to work at the Maker Foundation. Hi. I haven't been following much with the Endgame, but I'm really curious about the SubDAOs and how Maker is involved. So when the SubDAOs get funding from Maker, does that have to go through governance?
Yes, that is a Maker governance decision to essentially allow this, call it, special actor or entity, the SubDAO, to be able to spin up and have those like special permissions, I'd say.
Okay, and then I know like one of the issues with the core units was just like, I don't know, deliverables, I guess you would say. Yep. Is there something that is solving for that with the SubDAOs? Yes, so that's bringing back to the point of accountability. So if there's so the issue that we have with core units is they could have been been well-intentioned and provided value through their work at the start. But at some point, because the market changed or just because the needs of the community changed, that work didn't really translate to the value. In this case, this gets all bundled up into the SubDAO. SubDAO makes decisions of what service providers to hire, what teams to hire to build out their technology or their user experience, and then go out in the market and actually compete against each other to get a good return. A SubDAO that, for example, overspends money on things that don't actually bring value will essentially have a lower ROI and eventually be off-boarded just because of lack of performance. Or better yet, they'll be outcompeted by the other SubDAOs that do actually provide a return. Okay, got it. Thanks.
What is Conduit again? It sounds like some customizable programming unit, but it's not quite clear from the talk.
Yeah, no, and it's also partly my fault. The best I can explain it is a standardized approach at moving funds from let's say Maker or really the SubDAO down to the yield opportunity. It's a way of defining a standard way for everyone to do the same thing. The important thing, and something I didn't remark during the talk, is that these are supposed to be singleton contracts. So once built for one, let's say we build it for Spark, SubDAO 2 will probably be the first providing capital through there, but then at any point in time, SubDAO 3, 4, and 5 can decide to actually use the same contract to actually have that interaction.
Okay, you guys have public documentation on that yet already? Yeah. Okay, take a look now.
And the docs.
Yeah. Okay, then how to launch a SubDAO and get it funded?
Yeah, so from the SubDAO level, at the moment, we're in what we call pre-game. So it's kind of like we're bootstrapping the system. SubDAOs will be coming online, the first ones at the end of the year. So for now, I would say it's more of like a permission system. We're just making sure that everything works. For example, from Phoenix Labs, building Spark for Maker at the moment, we're also like helping figure out what is the best way that SubDAOs will be able to use products such as Spark. I'd say this comes in a bit later of being able to permissionlessly spin up or propose to Maker governance to lead a SubDAO. You can also join the current set of SubDAOs as well There's about 4 of them, so you can also try that and be a community member of that through as an individual or as a protocol yourself. How they're governed, that is up to each SubDAO. So essentially, Maker provides such a, let's say, more of like a framework, or at the end, limits, let's say, to what they're able to do. And within that, they have full freedom to decide how to govern themselves.
How would real-world asset structure integrate with the conduits?
So at the moment, what you end up having is, no, I don't think I have a good slide for this. Maybe that, no. At the moment, what we end up doing is you end up creating a legal structure outside. You initially have DAI. A lot of times we use USDC to be off-ramped securely by micromakers or OTC desk that then send the dollars to the legal structure to run that part. So really that part doesn't change. You can look at things with new protocols such as Ondo, how they have their own way of building that, let's say, the off-chain part. Really, our concern is having a one way of interacting with any type of real asset institution or protocol. So really, here the key is that while on chain everything's easy accessible, you can recall funds from Spark in a heartbeat. With real assets, you have delays, and that's where the biggest risk comes from. So that's where we have this sets of, first of all, from the, let's say, simply the signaling side, is almost, it's really the intent of, I need to request funds. Therefore, the arranger needs to, I mean, they can divest from their current position. They also might have capital available to actually pay back the SubDAO without needing to charge their portfolio. But you can also think about other possibilities or other situations, really, where you end up having, sorry, slightly blank out. You can have, basically, you can have any way of recalling the capital, and now it's also on the SubDAO side to make that decision of what real asset deal to invest in. If for whatever reason there's an issue there, or there's a loss of capital, that's on the SubDAO perspective that they take the hit. So they are in charge of doing that due diligence and ensuring that the investment is a high quality one to actually make.
We have time only for one more question.
Yeah. Last one?
Only one more question.
Hi, Tadeo. First of all, beautiful speech. More importantly, beautiful hair. Is SparkDAO planning on launching a DN rollup?
Sorry, say again?
Or is SparkDAO planning on launching a DN rollup?
It's a good question. We actually came out with our multi-chain strategy, trying to find a way to permissionlessly deploy Spark in other chains. I don't think we're currently focused on the end, though.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions. But you can ask speakers after. Now
Yeah,
we
I'm
need
here.
to
My
go
contact
to next
info is
speaker.
there. Thank you for it.